The elegant, hushed atmosphere of the Genoa City Athletic Club is about to become the stage for one of the most emotionally charged and long-awaited confrontations of the year. This week on The Young and the Restless, the fragile threads holding the Abbott family tapestry together are pulled taut, threatening to unravel completely. At the center of the storm are two figures whose bond was once thought unbreakable: the matriarch Jill Abbott and her rebellious son, Billy Boy Abbott. A newly released photo preview for the episode of October 3rd offers a stark, visual promise of the drama to come. The image is a study in contrasts, capturing a frozen moment between a mother and her son that speaks volumes without a single word of dialogue. It's in this charged silence that we must ask the question on every fan's mind. After years of hurt, betrayal, and disappointment, is there a path forward for Jill and Billy? Or is this the final, heartbreaking fracture? A picture worth 1,000 regrets. The promotional still is a masterclass in visual storytelling. Jill, portrayed with regal intensity by Jess Walton, is seated at a polished table. She isn't leaning back in casual conversation. She is poised on the edge of her seat, her posture rigid with a mixture of apprehension and fierce maternal hope. Her hands are clasped tightly in front of her, a white-knuckled anchor against the tidal wave of emotion. Her eyes, those windows to a soul that has weathered corporate coups, romantic heartbreaks, and familial discord, are fixed on Billy. They hold a universe of feeling, a deep, aching love, a history of frustration, and a silent, desperate plea for understanding. Across from her, Billy Abbott, brought to life with captivating rawness by Jason Thompson, is a portrait of defensive turmoil. He stands, not sits, creating an immediate physical and emotional distance. His arms are crossed firmly over his chest, a classic barrier against vulnerability. His jaw is set, his expression a carefully constructed mask of defiance, but any viewer who looks closer can see the storm in his eyes. This isn't the calm anger of a man who has made up his mind. This is the turbulent, painful conflict of a son who feels profoundly wronged yet is battling a lifetime of conditioning to seek his mother's approval. The space between them in the photograph feels vast, a chasm carved not by the few feet of carpet, but by years of miscommunication, perceived betrayals, and the heavy weight of the Abbott name. This single image encapsulates their entire dynamic: Jill, reaching out from a place of love and fear, and Billy, pushing back from a place of pain and pride. The unspoken history, the ghost at the table. To understand the gravity of this meeting, one must acknowledge the ghost that will undoubtedly be sitting at the table with them, the specter of Chancellor Winters. Jill's monumental decision to merge her iconic company, Chancellor Industries, with the Winters family's burgeoning empire was a strategic masterstroke. It solidified a legacy, honored a dear friend in the late Neil Winters, and positioned the new conglomerate as a Genoa City powerhouse built on diversity and modern principles. For Billy, however, it was the ultimate betrayal. It wasn't just a business decision, it was a personal rejection of seismic proportions. In his eyes, his mother chose an outsider, Devon Hamilton, over her own flesh and blood. She chose the legacy of the Winters family over the legacy of her own son. This act confirmed his deepest insecurities, that no matter how hard he tries, no matter how many times he picks himself up, he will never be enough in the eyes of his family, especially his mother. The fact that he had to learn about it after the fact, through the corporate grapevine rather than from Jill herself, salted the wound, turning shock into seething resentment. Jill's motivations, while clear from a legacy standpoint, were also deeply maternal. She has watched Billy's self-destructive cycles for years, his gambling addiction, his impulsive decisions, his mercurial relationship with power. In her mind, handing him the keys to a kingdom he was not emotionally equipped to run would have been a death sentence. She believed she was protecting him from himself, from the immense pressure that could have triggered another devastating spiral. She saw a cliff and built a fence, but Billy only saw the fence as a wall keeping him from his birthright. The October 3rd confrontation, a breakdown of the battlefield. As the scene unfolds on October 3rd, we can expect this foundational conflict to erupt. The dialogue will be sharp, layered with decades of subtext. Jill's opening gambit. The appeal to family. Jill will not start with business. She will begin with the heart. She will speak of John Abbott, of the man Billy was named after, and the values he stood for. She will remind Billy that the Abbott name is about more than stock prices and corner offices. It's about loyalty, resilience, and families sticking together through everything. She will express her fear, the cold dread that grips a mother's heart when she sees her child heading down a dark path. Her argument will be, "I did this for you, to save you from a burden I feared would break you." Billy's counterattack, the accusation of distrust. Billy will throw her words back at her. "Save me," he will likely scoff. "You didn't save me, Mom. You fired me.
You demoted me.
You showed the entire city that you have zero faith in me." He will zero in on the lack of trust. He won't hear her concern as love. He will interpret it as a final, damning judgment on his character and his capabilities. The core of his pain is the belief that his own mother sees him as a lost cause, a liability to be managed rather than a son to be championed. The flashpoint, the future. The conversation will inevitably turn from the past to the future. Jill will likely extend an olive branch, a significant, high-level position within the new Chancellor Winter structure, perhaps even a seat on the board. But for Billy, this will feel like a consolation prize, a bone thrown to the family dog to keep him quiet. He doesn't want a job, he wanted the legacy. He will see any offer not as a peace treaty, but as a reminder of the throne he was denied. The glimmer of hope, what it will take to heal. So, is there any hope for reconciliation on October 3rd? The path is perilously narrow, but it exists. It requires both characters to do the one thing they have found nearly impossible in their relationship: truly listen and fully vulnerable. Billy's key to the lock. Billy must look past his own wounded ego and hear the fear in his mother's voice. He needs to acknowledge, if only to himself, the pattern of behavior that justifies her concern. His redemption lies not in proving her wrong by seizing power, but by demonstrating his stability through consistent, responsible action. He must lower the defensive walls, uncross his arms, and say, "I hear that you were scared for me." It's a monumental task for a man who equates vulnerability with weakness. Jill's necessary sacrifice. For Jill, healing this rift requires a profound act of faith. She must look at her son not as the troubled boy of his past, but as the man he is struggling to become. She must apologize not for her business decision, but for the way she executed it, for the secrecy and the perceived lack of respect. Most importantly, she must offer him not just a job, but a genuine, tangible piece of the future with real autonomy. She has to trust him with something meaningful, even if it